Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a little spontaneous. I put no planning or forethought into this. I just decided a couple of hours ago, today I'm going to record a video. And the video I'm recording is a what's in my project bag. Here it is. It's kind of a mess, to be honest. I mean, now that I'm looking at it, there's just stuff hanging out all over. So the bag itself, this is a bag my friend Felicia sewed for me for my birthday last year. I think it's called the Town Bag. She bought a kit and pattern from, is it Grainline Studio? Or maybe that's the original makers of this bag, and other people are like distributing the pattern now. I'm not exactly sure, but she made this and it's awesome. It's the perfect size for most of my sweater projects, and it also holds all of the other things that come along with knitting sweaters. So let's go through all the nooks and crannies of this project bag so you can see the chaos for what it is. So at the top here, we have my knitting light. I think this is by a company called Lume. And I received this light for free in exchange for doing a post on Instagram reviewing this product. It does the job, like it helps me see my stitches. If I'm working on anything super detailed, or if I'm working on something with dark yarn and I'm not just doing stockinette back and forth, then this comes in handy. The project itself is in my project bag. I will say with the knitting light, this isn't always in my project bag because most of my projects I don't even reach for this, but every now and then, especially in the winter and the darker months, I do reach for it a little more frequently. So in the main compartment, usually I have all of the yarn for whatever project I'm working on, as well as the project itself, as you might have guessed. So in the main compartment of my bag, I have 2 unwound skeins of the Hudson & West Weld, which is the yarn I'm using to make my fairy building sweater, which is the whip that is in this bag. 2 that I haven't wound yet. These are the last 2 untouched skeins for this project. I have my front panel that I completed a few weeks ago. And I have the ball of yarn and the back panel that I'm working on. So this is the ball that I'm currently working from. And that is taking up pretty much all of the room in the main compartment. So at any given point, if I'm working on a larger like sweater project, depending on how many other things I want to hold in the bag, I may or may not carry around all of the yarn I haven't knit yet for the project, as well as any, if it's like a seamed project, any pieces that I've already completed and I'm not actively working on anymore. But at the present moment, everything is in there. But at one point while working on this project, I only had like 3 balls of yarn that I had wound up, and the rest were in skeins in my yarn cabinet, and then the piece that I was actively working on. So it really just depends. Usually everything I need to complete the project start to finish is typically in this bag. And so as we can see now, the main compartment of the project bag is empty. It's very difficult to show you. There's a larger pocket. I'll just use my phone. Look at us being resourceful. So we have this larger pocket here on one side, and then on the other side, I'll turn it around. We have this pocket that I hold my stitch markers in, and a few narrow pockets that might hold a pen or writing utensil. I have my darning needles here, a crochet hook that I use occasionally to pick up drop stitches. And in this little pocket, I have a pair of scissors, collapsible scissors that come in handy. And this side pocket here, there's nothing currently in there. So those are all of the inside pockets. So I'll pull these pieces out and talk about them a little bit. So in the larger side pocket, for whatever project I happen to be working on, I usually keep the swatches with the project as I'm working through it, and then I have a bag dedicated to all of my swatches from projects past, and once I finish the project I will put the swatches there. But for the life of the project, as it is an active whip, I keep the swatches in the bag. So I did 2 swatches for my fairy building sweater, so those are living in one pocket on the inside, and in another pocket I have my 2 cases of stitch markers slash odds and ends. So I use these stitch markers all the time for every knitting project, no matter what. I use these locking stitch markers. They're great for marking stitches in your work, to count rows. I use it to count rows all the time, and every type of project. I have them all over my current whip, as you can see here, helping me count rows, track increases. That's primarily what I use them for, and they're nothing fancy. I got it on Amazon, I believe, and I bought it in a pack of 2. So I have an identical case to this that is full in each compartment. So I don't know if I'll ever get to them. I'm pretty good about keeping track of my stitch markers. Every now and then I'll find some in a corner somewhere in my house, but for the most part I always have this case with me, so I always have somewhere to put them away when I'm done using them. And similarly, this is a case with all of my fixed, or I guess ring stitch markers. So this is specific to knitting. This is useful. The safety pin locking stitch markers are useful for knitting and crochet projects, but these are specifically for knitting. There also has a random assortment of other stitch markers that I've collected over the years. I have a few in here. These came with my ChiaoGoo interchangeable needle set, and the bag that they came in broke, so I just plopped them in here. I have some decorative progress keepers type stitch markers. Like this is was a decorative stitch marker that I had where the stitch marker part kind of broke off, so I don't really have a use for it anymore. I just kind of keep it in here. And I also have a couple of needle stoppers in this case. Oh, this lighting is not great. I'll move back so you can see me a little better. So yeah, I have a pair of needle stoppers that I just stick on the edge of my needles when they are in a project. So yeah, this always lives in my project bag. In the first skinny pocket, as I mentioned, I have my darning needles. So I got these from Amazon years ago. It's just a few varying sizes, metal darning or tapestry needles. I use them for weaving in ends, doing Kitchener stitch, doing a sewn bind off. I use this on every single project I make at some point at some stage in the project. So always handy to have those within close reach. And then, like I said, I have a crochet hook here that I use to pick up stitches. Not pick up stitches, but if ever I have to, pick up stitches that I've dropped and fix a mistake. Usually I can drop down and fix mistakes without using a hook, but if I am dropping down more than, let's say, 5 rows, then I will probably grab a crochet hook. And then, as I mentioned, I have a pair of scissors. These are really cool because they are collapsible. So I like that they fold up to this nice compact shape, but when I need them, I can pull them out and they are a functioning pair of scissors, and I can store them away and I don't have to worry about them accidentally cutting through the fabric of my project bag or ruining my whip. So that's everything on the inside of my project bag. So let's talk about what's on the outside pockets. So we have one large pocket here, which is pretty obvious what's in that pocket. And then on the other side, we have 2 smaller size pockets. So let's start with the smaller sized pockets. And one of them, I have my tape measure. So I don't know how well you can see it, but that says Miss Pearl. That is my local yarn store. And I'm so sorry this lighting is not ideal. I apologize. And then in this other pocket is kind of temporary storage because these things shouldn't actually be here. So I have a set of needle tips, ChiaoGoo needle tips, 4-inch 3mm needle tips. So I have two full ChiaoGoo red lace interchangeable sets, one 4-inch set and one 5-inch set. That probably sounds excessive, but I do want to make a video that shows all of my knitting tools and notions and the story of why they are currently in my possession, and acknowledging that it might be a little bit overkill for most people. But anyway, I had to buy that, and I have not put this in the needle case with the rest of my 4-inch interchangeable needles. So that's why that's here, and it'll probably be there for a few more months until I get around to putting it in its proper place. Similarly, these are some needle stoppers. So the pair of needle stoppers I showed earlier in this video, I had lost those for several months, couldn't find them anywhere. And I purchased these from my local yarn store, Miss Pearl. Lo and behold, they turned up, as well as some other needle stoppers that I've lost probably over a year before that. So it's the case of the disappearing needle stoppers. What can I say? So in the larger outside pocket, as you may have seen, I have my interchangeable ChiaoGoo needles. These are my 5-inch needles. I use these for pretty much every garment project I ever make, ever. And they are my go-to needles. I love them, highly recommend them. Nothing special going on. I have an empty case for my 3mm 5-inch needles because I bought a 4-inch tip and a 5-inch tip. Anyway, for this project, that's garbage. I can throw that away. But here's what the inside looks like if anybody cares to know. I will say I don't usually keep my full set of interchangeables with my project. And I can't even tell you why this is in my project bag. This is, I should have put this away weeks ago. So yeah, but it's there. So I'm showing you. Two other things in this pocket. The other needle stoppers that I mentioned losing a long time ago. And then the last thing I have in my project bag, I'm kind of embarrassed. Let me know if anybody else does this, okay? I have all of the yarn labels for the project I'm working on. So these are all of the ball bands for the skeins that I have worked through so far in this project. I can't tell you why I do this. There is no logical reason, but I have seen people who keep ball bands forever and ever and ever, or they'll keep one of them and then catalog it in like some type of physical knitting journal to help them keep track of their projects, things like that. I don't keep my ball bands forever, but I hold on to every single one for the entire duration of me knitting the project. And I think part of that is if I have to buy more or I run out, I know for a fact what yarn, what colorway, and also what dye lot, if applicable, that I'm using. I have never had to do that. Like, I've never run into a situation where I ran out of yarn and I had to buy more and I needed to match dye lots, etc. I'm pretty good about going into a project being fairly certain that I have enough yarn to complete the project. But it's just one of my quirks. I just keep all of the labels until I finish the project. And then as soon as I bind off, weave all the ends, do all the blocking, and I do my sort of project bag reset, then these get thrown away immediately. But for the time being, they're gonna stay with me. So that is everything in my project bag currently. I'm curious to know if anything I shared here is weird, or if we have anything in common in terms of the things we keep in our project bags. I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.